This time around on Author's Corner, conversation with Teresa Nan Travis. Her book, Free Range, Poems, Philosophy. She's got one I love, Monarchist. It's right in the very beginning of the book. Teresa, thanks for joining us on America Tonight with me, Kate Delaney. Talk about, for the listeners, why you pulled this all together in Free Range, and how'd you come up with that title? What does free range mean?
Well, free range means, means the range free for the animals, because I am very concerned about the animals. And there's a lot about animals in my book.
Yeah, so tell us about that. So when you say there's a lot about animals, tell us about some of the animals that you feature and what you have to say about some of them.
Well, I was worried about the wolves being decimated up in the Northwest, and also I was also concerned about the Mustangs being, eliminated from the range. So I think that free range would be good for all animals. Just let them be alive, do what they do.
Yeah, it's funny because people talk a lot about, as people know listening, free range chickens even.
Yes, and I agree with that too.
Yeah, it makes sense. Absolutely. So that makes sense. The title of the book. And it's funny, you have really a wonderful piece that you wrote that I like, and it's right in the beginning of your book, Free Range, and it's called A Note Found Under the Carpet. And it's a wonderful title. And you say, like, for example, one of the stanzas, to travel by the stars, to live in freedom and with beauty, far from the thrones. You talk about fabled cities that now await us, and together side by side, and whatnot. So are you inspired by fantasy, by obviously the world, by animals, etc.? What inspires your writing?
Well, many things. I think everything inspires my writing. If I write about it, because I've been inspired by something in it that inspired me. When I see a horse running, I think that is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And when I see a cat stalking, through the grass, I think it's beautiful. When I see when I see things that I think are beautiful, they almost bring tears to my eyes because I think how beautiful they are.
Yeah.
A part of creation.
Yeah, and on the book you have a beautiful woman and a butterfly. And what is it that people will discover when they get your book?
Well, I also discuss the metamorphosis of the butterfly, and I had an experience with butterflies. I was in Mexico, and I was wearing a very colorful huipil, and the butterflies that were dying would come and land on me. I was covered in butterflies, and I saw the way they died, and they put their little hands together and they raised themselves up in the air, and it just, when I wrote the poem, I thought about that, and I wrote that.
Has poetry been always the way you express yourself?
Yes, I think so. Yes, I've always been a poet. Even when I was a kid, I was writing poetry.
Yeah. It's interesting too, because the subjects are so varied. Even Adam, you talk about The Omen, you talk about Fable of a Candle, and you also have a poem. And because I saw his grave and I like his poetry and his writings, Conversation with W.B. Yeats. And what inspired that?
I think because I've been reading books about Yeats and Ezra Pound and all the poets of that century, and they were very great poets at that time, and they were revered, and they are revered. And I thought, if I can write as great as they do, I've succeeded in my life.
Yeah. How did you decide what makes it into the book and what doesn't? Because how many poems have you written, do you think, in your life?
Oh, I've probably written thousands, and the ones that are in there are just haphazard ones that I found that I just put together. There's no real, order to them.
Right, which is again what the name of the book is, free range. So free range for what what you put in there. You also talk about I love that you talk about the animals. You mentioned that, of course, horses and whatnot. You talk about the calico cat. You talk about the Mustangs, like you said. And who is the calico cat?
The calico cat is the cat that it's the famous cat, the cat.
Yes,
the cat that everyone refers to when they talk about cats.
And you decided
his whiskers here, his eyes are closed.
Yeah. Yeah.
He knows what's going on everywhere.
Yeah, because the calico cat is processing it, right?
Yes.
Yeah. What is, and so for everybody listening, of course, free range is the name of the poetry book that Teresa Nan Travis has put together that you can get on Amazon or Barnes and Noble. And as you say, you've written thousands of poems. When you write a poem, you write it for yourself, but when it's out there in the world and it touches someone, what does that feel like?
Oh, it feels great. When someone understands what I'm saying, and I try to make it understandable. I don't use, big words and try to make it all fancy. I try to make it down to earth, and so that people will relate to what I'm saying, because what I'm saying is a very natural and a normal sort of thing. I'm not talking about really high-flown things, although I will talk about Menelaus and Helen of Troy. That's something that, I studied all kinds of literature, so I can't help but mention it once in a while.
I gotcha. Do you have a favorite poem rather that you've written, or that's too hard because you've written so many?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to say. Different poems, different times.
Yeah, there's one you have, Guess Who Came to Tea. What's Guess Who Came to Tea? What's that inspired by?
What was that again?
Guess Who Came to Tea.
Tea. Oh, that was a guy who was in my house, and he was like really persecuting me. He was marching around and yelling at me and things like that. And I called him somebody else's name on purpose. And he turned around and he said, "What's my name? What's my name?" And I said, "Oh, Rumpelstiltskin." And I stopped laughing. I laughed so hard, and he didn't know what to do.
Very funny. What comes next for you? Will you put together another book of poems?
Yes, I have a poem with my art coming out, and it's the Silver Seashell, and it's mainly my art in it, and then it's just a picture book. Yeah, I think it's good for children, and I have little silly poems in it, like the one about the starfish going to a restaurant, and silly, all kinds of things. An interview with an eel, for example, and what the whale would say to us.
Yeah, absolutely. What would a whale say to us? I've seen many beautiful whales when I've had the pleasure of going to Hawaii and whatnot. And it's funny that you write about that, because in my head, I do wonder what they think of us humans.
Well, they are so much wiser and so much more intelligent than we are. I mean, they think of this. We think our brains are so great, but their brain is 20 times the size of ours.
Yeah, boy, that is so true. We can't wait for the next one. What do you hope people, when they pick up your book, which free range, of course, you can open it at any point and read any poem that strikes your fancy, anything that you look down in the table of contents. What do you hope somebody walks away with when they pick up the book at any point?
Well, they can. I hope they just enjoy the book, and that it brings a smile to their faces, and that they think about things in a more deep way, and in a way that's humane and with love, with a lot of love.
What a perfect sentiment and a perfect place to end this. Free range. You can get it for a song, you can get it on Kindle, you can get it in hardback or paperback, however you like it. on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, like I said before. Free Range Poems by Teresa Nan Travis. I love having poets on. It's always fun to hear their imagination and what creativity flows through them. Teresa, what a gift that is. Teresa, thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having this interview with me, and I hope people will buy this book because it'll give them a smile on their faces and make them think about things that perhaps they haven't thought about before.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Visit www.greatwritersmedia.com. Email us at info@greatwritersmedia.com. Call us at 877-600-5469. Subscribe now.